Alright, with it just being under a couple months until Maryland Deathfest 2014, I thought I would go ahead and do kind of a little recap of last year's MDF, my top 10 bands there, and then the top 10 bands I'm looking forward to at this year's MDF. Last year I went to Maryland Deathfest. It was my first time going to that. It was my first full-fledged real heavy metal festival. I had a great time. It was amazing. Got to hang out with a lot of my friends that were there. Met a lot of cool people. Wasn't my first time for a concert in Baltimore. Actually, wasn't even my first time for a concert at the Sonar, but it was my first time with that many people there. That was kind of crazy. But it was really fun. I really liked how it was set up. There's so much merch there. It was kind of overwhelming at first. I remember on the Friday, so like the first full day of the festival, I just had to take a while just to kind of look around at all the merchandise there. There's just so much. Definitely looking forward to next year. But yeah, so for 2013, I was there all 4 days. It was the first time that all the stages were outside. They had the two main stages, then kind of like a tent. So that was technically outside, I guess. Okay, top 10 bands I saw at MDF 2013. Number 10 was the one and only Pentagram, the US doom metal band. I had watched the documentary on Bobby Liebling not too long before I went up there. Great documentary, and it really kind of put his whole persona and everything like that into perspective. Doom metal in a festival environment, like old school doom metal, not like doom death metal or anything like that. But kind of old school heavy doom metal sounds great in a festival environment. I thought they were on fire. Unfortunately, their set did get cut short by a couple songs. Bobby was hilarious on stage. Their guitar player was killing it. It was a really good time. I mean, whenever you get to hear "Forever My Queen" by the guys who wrote it, that's awesome. Number 9 is Convulse from Finland, and they were kind of the first band. They played on Friday. They were the first outside stage band on Friday. Kind of the first band for me for MDF. When I saw them, I'm like, okay, I can tell I'm at a special event now. Like, I know this is a world-class metal festival now that I heard Convulse. Very heavy. I think it might have been their first reunion show. It was kind of funny, during their first song, right as they kicked into it, the guitar player's guitar strap broke, so we kind of spent about a minute trying to get that taken care of, but he came back, and it was great. They sounded really heavy, real full of sound and everything like that. Number 8, of course, was Carcass, the headliners of one of the days there. Classic band. At that time, I think that was their only... No, that wasn't their only U.S. show that year, but at the time, I remember when they got off stage, they did play the intro track to their new album, so technically I was one of the first people to hear some new Carcass. But other than that, they're a lot of fun. They're really fun on stage, cracking jokes with the audience and everything like that. And they play their old material, like, pitch perfect. I think it sounds almost exactly like it does on the album, and it goes over really well live. Number 7 is the black metal band Aiosoth from France. Aiosoth has the same frontman as Anthous, and Aiosoth is kind of a little bit more claustrophobic, maybe even a little bit more, I don't know how to say, like ghostly, ethereal kind of, but still really brutal black metal. Yeah, I think they kind of surprised a lot of people. I don't know if a lot of people that saw them necessarily knew what they were getting into, but they were the real deal. They're really, really vicious, really awesome stuff. Number 6 was the death metal band from England, Benediction. Benediction has been around for a really long time. Used to have Barney from Napalm Death as their vocalist, and now it's actually Dave Hunt, the vocalist from Anal Nathrak, my favorite band. So that was really cool. They play really enjoyable death metal. Again, old school death metal I think goes over really well in a festival environment. Lots of fun. Again, Dave Hunt is just a great, not only a vocalist, but he's good at cracking jokes at the crowd, keeping the crowd entertained in between songs and stuff like that. But really good, solid, old English death metal. And speaking of really good, solid, old English death metal, Number 5, best band I saw at MDF was Bolt Thrower. When they announced they were playing MDF a couple years ago, it blew everybody's mind, and the fact they got them again was just even better. Probably, as I said in one of my other videos, maybe my favorite death metal band of all time. This one, it was crazy. They played in the tent. It was packed full. I was far back and people were still moshing where I was. It was insane. Again, their set did get cut short a little bit, but they played a whole bunch of songs, and it was just it was an experience, especially with all those people there. Number 4 would have to go to the Japanese Bigail. They played on Thursday, the first day, and they played right after some bands that were good, but kind of like, okay, I've kind of seen this before. When Bigail got on stage, they were faster, more punk, more thrash than the stuff that came before them, and it just kind of lit a fire underneath everyone in the crowd. They kind of kicked up the first big circle pits of the day, the first crowd surfing of the day. They were so good. I was a fan before, but now I'm even more of a fan. They were just amazing. Number 3, old school grindcore legends, Repulsion. They only got one album out. They were cracking jokes that they all only have one album out. It was all in good fun stuff. They did a Venom cover of Schizo. That was really fun. It went over really well in a live setting. It was kind of cool outside, so you know, the heat had dissipated, so it wasn't unbearable or anything like that. Whole lot of fun. Number 2 actually was the reason I ended up going to MDF. It was the French black metal band Anthous. Anthous was one of the first metal bands I had ever listened to when I first got into metal, and seeing them was nothing short of a dream come true. Hearing them play all these songs I've been listening to for years and years and years, I can't even explain it. It was so good, and people were. I mean, it was one of the most violent sets I've ever seen. It was everything I wanted from an Anthous set. It was great. But then number 1, kind of a surprise. I was into this band before, but I didn't realize how much. I guess I liked them until I saw them live. It was Pagan Altar. It was their first U.S. show ever. Their vocalist sounds exactly like he does on album, and he's a very unique vocalist, and that just kind of added to how good they were live and everything like that. Again, that's kind of another thing where I've been listening to these songs for so long, and then I finally get to see them in a live setting and just amplify my love for them that much more. So yeah, so Pagan Altar was the best band I saw at MDF 2013, and now for my most anticipated bands of MDF 2014. Just kind of preface this, I really, really like the bands Black Breath and Bird Flesh. I have seen Black Breath before. I haven't seen Bird Flesh, and I really, really like Bird Flesh. Thing is, they're actually performing at the Soundstage, which is kind of where the punk bands are for this year at MDF. And depending on the running order, like the set times and everything like that, I may get a ticket to go see them there, but as of right now, I'm not planning on it, just so I can take in the rest of MDF. Okay, top 10 bands, MDF 2014 for me. Number 10 would be Hooded Menace. They are a doom death hybrid, kind of an even sludgier, darker version of Asfix or something like that. At first, when I first heard them, I wasn't the biggest fan, but they definitely have grown on me. One of my favorites in that particular genre. I actually picked up a Hooded Menace shirt from them from the Relapse booth at MDF 2013. So definitely excited for them. Number 9, another death doom band, is Coffins from Japan. I've been a really big fan of them ever since I picked up their Buried Death album a couple years ago. I think they do their take on doom death metal probably better than most other bands. It's kind of a little bit more crunchy, a little bit more evil, stuff like that. They are a 4-piece now. I think last time they played in the United States they were a 3-piece, so it'll be definitely interesting to see them now that they have a dedicated vocalist and everything like that. But definitely looking forward to them. Number 8 is actually one of the very few bands that I've seen before that is also playing MDF 2014, and that is Swedish death metal band Unleashed. I saw them a few years ago here in the States with Obituary, and Unleashed definitely stole the show. Really, really fun, fast death metal, singing about Vikings, stuff like that. And they just have some goofy songs I think would go over well with a big crowd in front of them. You know, singing Hammer Battalion MDF or something like that. That'll be fun. Number 7 is recently reformed Nocturnus. They are performing All of the Key, which is a great death metal album. One of the first to use keyboards in there. So I think that'll be kind of fun to see them perform that whole album. Good old school death metal. It features one of the guys who used to be a Morbid Angel. So that'll be really fun. Number 6 from Norway is Talk. Great, solid black metal. Once you kind of delve deeper than kind of those big second wave of black metal bands, you hit these bands. They're just they don't get nearly enough credit for how good they sound. Talk is definitely one of them. His last album was one of my favorite albums of that year. I think it was 2012. He does a lot of interesting stuff with black metal, but at the end of the day, it's still really solid, no frills, no bullshit black metal. Number 5 is Candlemass. And if you don't know Candlemass, I don't know why you're listening to heavy metal in the first place. Great, one of the first real heavy doom metal bands. The only thing is they're not with Messiah. They're one of their old vocalists, but that's fine. Again, they're kind of a band that has so many hits that so many people know. I'm kind of looking forward to everyone singing along with them on stage there at MDF. Number 4 is Tryptocon. The first heavy metal band I ever saw live was Celtic Frost, so this is kind of nice to see again Tryptocon. I haven't seen Tryptocon in the past, only got to see Celtic Frost once, so this will be kind of a nice circular kind of closure to that first concert and everything. Tryptocon's first album was great. And then they regularly play Celtic Frost covers. And apparently they also do Hellhammer covers, which I can't even fathom that. That's heavy metal history that'll be happening right in front of my eyes. Number 3, another recently reformed band, Dark Angel, maybe the fastest band on the planet when they released their first couple of albums. Hopefully they can keep up that speed at MDF. Again, it's another band that I think has a lot of great moments that will induce a lot of singing along, a lot of circle pits, a lot of crowd surfing and stuff like that. Another classic band with classic material. Number 2, when this band got announced, first off, I've been saying MDF needs to get this band. If they get this band, I will go. And that is At the Gates. At the Gates is one of my favorite death metal bands, and Slaughter of the Soul is my favorite death metal album of all time. I know a lot of people only like their old stuff, said Slaughter of the Soul is too different, too sellout, whatever that. I think Slaughter of the Soul is a perfect album. Really looking forward to seeing them. I really hope they play a lot of cuts off Slaughter of the Soul, but there's some older stuff I'd like to hear as well. And then I told people when At the Gates was one of the first bands announced for MDF. I told people there's only a few bands that I would want to see above At the Gates, and one of them was my number 1 band to see at MDF, Asfix. Asfix is the best doom death metal band of all time. Last One on Earth is one of the greatest albums of all time. Death Hammer was one of the greatest albums to come out. When it came out, 2012, 2011, I can't remember when it came out. Martin Van Drunen is one of the best extreme metal vocalists of all time. They will be heavy. They will be crushing. They will be amazing. And they're on an inside stage with a bunch of sweet bands opening for them. But Asfix will be my most look forward to band of MDF 2014. All right, that's all for today. Thanks a lot.